Elon Musk says, "There is a sentence that falls on the heart like thunder before rain. Tell your entire family to prepare for tomorrow night." It sounds urgent. It sounds heavy. It sounds like the kind of warning that can make people tremble before they even understand what it means. But the deepest meaning of preparation is not panic, is not chaos, is not fear running wild through the house like fire through dry grass. True preparation begins when a family stops, becomes still, and asks what kind of people they have become before God. Because sometimes tomorrow night is not merely a moment on a calendar. Sometimes it is the symbol of every hour we have postponed obedience, every truth we refuse to face, every prayer we meant to pray later, every apology we planned to give when it was more convenient, and every time God called us inward while the world kept dragging us outward. Audience question: if tomorrow night exposed the true condition of your heart, would you be ready to stand in truth before God? So gather the family, not first around fear, but around meaning. Tell them preparation is not only about what might happen outside the walls of the home, but what is happening within the walls of the soul. Tell them that a house may be full of electricity, food, screens, and possessions, and still be spiritually dark. Tell them that a family can sleep under one roof and yet live as strangers to one another. If tomorrow night were to become a holy mirror, what would it reveal? Would it reveal resentment hidden behind politeness? Would it reveal children growing up surrounded by entertainment but starving for wisdom? Would it reveal parents providing material comfort while neglecting spiritual leadership? Would it reveal a family that knows how to work, spend, argue, and survive, but has forgotten how to bless, listen, forgive, and pray? Preparation begins when people stop pretending that normal life is the same thing as righteous life. Audience question: what is present in your house every day? Noise, distraction, and tension, or peace, truth, and the presence of God? Tell your family that preparation means returning to first things. Before money, before plans, before public image, before what the neighbors think, before what the internet says, there is God. Not as a decorative idea, not as a word reserved for funerals and emergencies, but as the center, as the breath behind breath, as the judge who sees what nobody else sees, and the father who still calls the wandering home. To prepare for tomorrow night is to remember that life is not ultimately controlled by celebrities, billionaires, governments, trends, or rumors. Human voices may alarm us, but they do not sit on the throne of eternity. God alone is God. That means the family must prepare by bowing the heart, not just straightening the furniture. It means asking not merely, what if something happens, but who are we before the one who holds all things together? Audience question: have you allowed the voice of the world to become louder in your life than the voice of God? Tell the father of the house, if he is present, to become more than a provider of bills. Tell him to become a keeper of spiritual fire. Tell him that strength is not only measured by how much he can carry on his shoulders, but by whether he can kneel. Tell him that authority without humility becomes control, and control without love becomes fear. Tell the mother, if she is present, that her tenderness is not weakness, and her discernment is not small. Tell her that heaven often plants wisdom in quiet places, and that the prayers whispered in kitchens, beside beds, and through tears have held families together when nobody else knew they were falling apart. Tell the children they're not too young to seek God and not too modern to need Him. Tell them their souls are not toys for the culture to experiment with. Tell them their value is not measured by followers, beauty, fashion, popularity, or performance, but by the fact that they were made in the image of God. Audience question: what role has each person in your family accepted? And is that role shaped by culture or by God? Preparation also means cleaning the unseen corners. A family can vacuum the floor and still leave bitterness under the carpet of the spirit. So let tomorrow night become the reason you finally say the words that have been buried. I was wrong. I hurt you. I forgive you. I should have listened. I should have stayed. I should have loved you better. There are homes where the walls are strong, but the relationships are fractured. There are tables with plenty of food, but no blessing on the conversation. There are bedrooms filled with comfort, but hearts filled with loneliness. When God calls a house to prepare, He is not impressed by polished appearances if the atmosphere is poisoned by pride, contempt, manipulation, jealousy, and silent wounds. He calls for truth in the inward parts. He calls for repentance where excuses have been living rent-free for years. Audience question: if your family had to speak honestly tonight, what truths have been avoided for a while? Turn off the endless stream of opinions, fears, clips, scandals, predictions, arguments, and empty entertainment. There's a kind of noise that does not merely fill the ears, it clutters the soul. It keeps people reacting instead of discerning. It keeps them stimulated instead of awake. It keeps them busy enough to avoid themselves. But preparation requires stillness. Not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness in which a family can hear what its life has been saying all along. In silence, the neglected child becomes visible. In silence, the exhausted mother becomes visible. In silence, the father hiding behind work becomes visible. In silence, the secret sins become louder. In silence, the ache for God becomes undeniable. Sometimes the reason people fear tomorrow night is because they have refused to face this night. Audience question: what noise in your life is preventing you from hearing the condition of your own soul? Tell your family to pray, but not with performance. Not with religious language meant to impress. Not with empty words thrown upward like habit. Pray honestly. Pray like people standing in need of mercy. Pray like people who know they cannot save themselves by intellect, wealth, or preparedness alone. Pray for protection, yes, but also for purification. Pray not only, Lord, keep danger away from us, but also, Lord, remove what is dangerous within us. Pray for the child who smiles but is drowning inside. Pray for the marriage that looks functional but has become cold. Pray for the elder whose faith is tired. Pray for the one hiding addiction, the one crushed by shame, the one flirting with despair, the one who has learned to laugh in public and bleed in private. A family that prays together does not become perfect overnight, but it becomes aligned with a power higher than fear. Audience question: when your family prays, do you ask only for comfort or also for cleansing, correction, and closeness to God? Now tell them this: preparation before God is not superstition. It is not collecting spiritual phrases as lucky charms. It is not assuming that saying God is the same as knowing Him. To prepare for tomorrow night in the presence of God means to walk in sincerity. It means examining what the family has worshipped in secret. Success can become an idol. Comfort can become an idol. Politics can become an idol. Romance can become an idol. Self-image can become an idol. Even family itself can become an idol if people trust the family more than they trust God. The danger of idolatry is that it does not always look evil. Sometimes it looks important. It occupies the center that belongs to God alone. So the call to prepare is a call to reorder love, to place every person, every ambition, every fear, and every plan beneath the lordship of the one who gave life in the first place. Audience question: what sits at the center of your family's decisions? God, or something that quietly replaced him? Tell them to remember mortality, because wisdom begins there. People live as if life is a long hallway with endless doors, but in truth, it is a fragile vapor. Tomorrow night may come and pass quietly, or may bring some turning point no one expected. The deeper issue is not whether one specific night becomes dramatic. It is that every human being is moving toward an appointed hour with God. This should not produce despair in the faithful. It should produce sobriety, humility, and urgency. It should awaken love. Because when people remember their dust held together by mercy, small arguments lose their throne. Ego shrinks. Vanity fades. Petty competitions look childish. Eternal things become heavy again. Souls become precious again. Time becomes sacred again. And a family begins to live not as if forever belongs to them, but as if each day is stewardship under heaven. Audience question: if you truly remembered how brief life is, what would you change in your words, habits, and relationships tonight? Tell your family that practical readiness has its place, but spiritual readiness must lead it. Yes, be wise. Check on the elderly. Make sure the vulnerable are not forgotten. Keep the home in order. Be responsible, but do not confuse outward preparedness with inward readiness. A person can have supplies stored and still have no peace. A person can know escape routes and still be lost in spirit. A family can be externally organized and internally collapsing. God is not against wisdom. He commands it. But wisdom without reverence becomes self-reliance, and self-reliance eventually reveals its poverty. So prepare the home with good sense, but prepare the heart with holy fear, because no locked door can keep out the consequences of a soul that has drifted from truth. Audience question: are you relying more on your own control than on God's love guidance? Must become visible before tomorrow night. Not sentimental love. Not dramatic words that disappear by morning. Real love. The kind that serves. The kind that notices. The kind that puts down pride. The kind that sits with the grieving without trying to appear strong. The kind that says, I am here. The kind that disciplines children with wisdom instead of rage. The kind that honors parents without pretending they were flawless. The kind that protects the weak. The kind that tells the truth even when the truth is uncomfortable. In the eyes of God, love is not decorative language. It is evidence. It proves what kind of spirit is ruling the home. If tomorrow night were to test your family, love would matter more than image, tenderness more than appearance, mercy more than performance. Audience question: if someone watched your family in private, would they see visible evidence of love? Tell the family not to surrender to fear-driven imagination. The human mind can create disasters faster than reality can deliver them. Fear multiplies shadows. Fear takes one sentence and turns it into a storm of images. Fear can make people spiritually unstable, emotionally harsh, and mentally exhausted. But faith is not denial. Faith does not close its eyes and pretend nothing exists. Faith looks at uncertainty and still says, God remains. Faith admits vulnerability and still chooses obedience. Faith does not say, nothing bad can happen to me. Faith says, whatever I face, I will not face it abandoned. That is why preparation in God is different from panic in the world. Panic makes people scattered. Faith makes people steady. Panic makes families accuse one another. Faith makes them gather. Panic worships worst-case scenarios. Faith remembers the character of God, even in the valley. Audience question: when uncertainty rises, do you become more rooted in God or more ruled by fear? Now speak to the one in the family who has secretly wandered far from God. Maybe no one else knows. Maybe they still attend, still smile, still function, still say the right phrases. But inwardly they have grown cold, cynical, numb, or compromised. Tell that person tomorrow night is not only a warning, it is an invitation. God does not expose in order to destroy all who return. He exposes so truth can heal what lies have infected. He convicts because he loves holiness and still desires restoration. Let the prodigal come home before the crisis. Let the proud bend before they are broken. Let the wounded stop pretending that pain is strength. Let the addicted step into light. Let the ashamed discover that confession is not the end of dignity, but the beginning of freedom. Audience question: what part of your life still hides from God while hoping for God's protection? Tell the family that meaning to God is found not only in rescue from danger, but in transformation through surrender. Many people want divine intervention without divine lordship. They want heaven's shelter without heaven's authority. They want God to preserve their plans while leaving their hearts untouched. But the call to prepare means yielding the whole self. It means saying, Lord, if tomorrow night is quiet, I will still be yours. If tomorrow night is difficult, I will still be yours. If tomorrow night changes me, strip away what should never have ruled me. This is where fear becomes consecration. This is where urgency becomes worship. This is where the family learns that the highest form of safety is not getting everything one wants, but belonging completely to God. Audience question: do you want God merely to protect your life, or to possess your life in truth and holiness? Tell them to bless one another before the night comes. Speak life over the children. Honor the elders. Ask forgiveness from the spouse. Place hands on shoulders and pray with intention. Let fathers bless daughters. Let mothers bless sons. Let brothers and sisters break cycles of mockery and distance. There is power in a house where blessing replaces accusation. There is healing in a family that decides the last words of the day will not be sarcasm, contempt, or indifference, but grace. Even if emotions are imperfect, let obedience begin. God often meets people in the very act of humble return. A family does not have to feel powerful to become spiritually aligned. It only has to become willing. Audience question: if tonight were the most important evening your family ever shared, what words would need to be spoken before sleep? And finally, tell them this with calm strength. Prepare for tomorrow night. Yes, but prepare as people who know that God is not the author of confusion for those who seek him. Let the house become still. Let the heart become clean. Let pride come down. Let love rise. Let prayer breathe through the rooms. Let truth stand where denial once stood. Let every person remember that tomorrow night, whether ordinary or extraordinary, is never outside the sight of God. The real preparation is this: to be found awake, humble, merciful, repentant, loving, and faithful. Because in the end, the most terrifying thing is not a dark night in the world, but a darkened soul before God. And the most blessed thing is not merely surviving the night, but meeting it with a conscience surrendered to heaven. So call the family together. Light no flame of panic. Light the lamp of wisdom. Tell them to prepare, not because men are gods, but because God is still God. Audience question. If your family stood before tomorrow night with God at the center, what would change first? Your fear, your words, your priorities, or your heart?